Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, DwyerVIP.com for premium picks. Look us up in the sports section on Roku. We're there. Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, a few days ago, I made a video here online, and judging from the comments I got back to the video on the Deontay Wilder versus Malik Scott fight, some people were shaken up. Right? I encourage everyone to read some of those comments. One viewer said, hey, you haven't listed any advantages that unbeaten Deontay Wilder has over Malik Scott. Right? I know people think I was hard on Wilder, who I called overrated in the video. Right? I concede he's never lost a fight. I concede no one has gone the distance against him. But again, I feel styles make fights. Right? I'm not here to buy into the religion of any fighter. Rather, I'm here to just look at styles and make hard decisions. Right? For those of you who think I was too hard on Wilder and not giving him any credit whatsoever, understand the bet I'm recommending is Malik Scott to win the fight, but hedged with Wilder by KO. Certainly, I believe Wilder has a puncher's chance in that fight. Well, I made another video, and by chance it also involved an unbeaten fighter, and many people were a bit surprised that I feel that unbeaten Floyd Mayweather is going to have a very hard time with Amir Khan, and that Amir Khan, as I put it, is a live underdog in the fight. Right? I don't know who's going to win that fight. Just based on numbers and getting leverage from the casino. Right? Because in a toss-up fight, if you're going to give me leverage, why don't I take it? I said one thing you want to look at, you want to consider, is Amir Khan the huge underdog? He's even a bigger underdog than I thought to win the fight, hedged with the over. Now, I'm aware of the fact that Danny Garcia knocked out Amir Khan early in their fight. I believe it was like the third round. And I'm aware of the fact that Amir Khan got stopped in the first round by Breidis Prescott. I believe in both of those fights, Amir Khan got a little bit too anxious, got a little bit too caught up in the moment. Right? Amir Khan has gone the distance with heavy-handed guys like Marcus Maidana. I believe Amir Khan on his game against a fighter who recently has only knocked out a defenseless Victor Ortiz early has enough to get that fight to the over. Right? Let's face it. Many of Floyd's recent opponents have gone the distance. The trend in Floyd fights, unbeaten and great as he is for the overs. So the bet I was recommending was Khan to win. You're getting huge leverage from the casino. Khan to win, hedged with the over. Right? Let me just make another point too. Many people say, oh, gee, Dwyer, these hedges, how much do I stand to win? 10%? You know, let's do the math. So I'm being conservative here. View a hedge as a form of insurance. If Amir Khan is a 3-to-1 underdog, and if the over's even money, understand you could set up the hedge where the over is simply insurance. If it goes over, you can break even on the play. But if Khan pulls the upset, you would more than double your money. Do the math, figure it out, think it through. Okay? Now, let's talk about another fight. In fact, not a fight, but a fighter who's also unbeaten. Right? Understand, the fact that a guy's unbeaten today doesn't mean he's going to be unbeaten tomorrow or he's going to stay unbeaten his entire life. great fighters, right? Ray Robinson, Ali, I would say Lennox Lewis, right? Vitaly Klitschko right now. Great fighters have had losses, right? They'll tell you they had a loss, right? Some of these guys have been stopped, knocked out, right? Let's talk about Gennady Golovkin. I believe this is a great time to do so because he's getting so much play in the press. People are just ignoring weight classes, and they're talking about him fighting 168 pounders as if the 8-pound gap between middleweight and super middleweight is a cup of tea, right? Not only that, they not only have him beating 168 pounders, they have him beating the best 168 pounders, right? The rumor is that HBO is interested in a fight between Gennady Golovkin and Andre Ward. Now let me point out the obvious. At 168 pounds right now, if you were to close your eyes and tell me the top three at 160, the top three, who would they be? Now what I want you to do is, if Gennady Golovkin is one of your top three at 160, right? And I think he is, right? Let me just ask you, on your list, and you can keep it private, has Golovkin fought the other two guys? I would make an argument that Gennady Golovkin hasn't even fought the best at 160. And yet we're talking about him fighting the best one floor up at 168 pounds, and we're wondering how he would do. Think about it. Ridiculous. Well, let me go one step further. As you look at his last fight, and that last fight's an important fight against Adamu, right? However you pronounce his last name. Aren't you a bit disturbed that his opponent is trying to fight him from the outside? In fact, what is the Golovkin fight? Where an opponent tried to smother him. Let me just say this. Is it possible that all of the tapes of Golovkin that show him running over opponents, right, catching up with guys who are fleeing, out-slugging guys, trying to fight him at mid-range, is it possible that none of that footage would be relevant to determining how Golovkin would do against a guy who is actually smothering him, trying to hunt him down? If Andre Ward fights the fight that he fought against Alan Green, what exactly is Gennady Golovkin going to do? Do you think he knows how to hold you off if you're up on his chest? Is it possible that the secret to beating Golovkin is to simply be able to fight him in such a way where your shoulder is touching him? Let's talk about Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins was able to get inside on Jean Pascal. Now understand, and I know YouTube Nation disagrees with me, Pascal is a huge puncher at 175 pounds. Right? Huge puncher. Are you telling me that if Hopkins, who was willing to go down to 160 to fight Floyd Mayweather, decides that he's willing to fight at 168 or 170, and keep in mind, Hopkins has fought at catch weights, right? Against, quite frankly, big bad middleweights, right? Kelly Pavlik, who was unbeaten at the time Hopkins took him out. Are you telling me that if Hopkins met Golovkin at 168 and started to come inside and fight him on the inside, not from the outside behind a jab, but from the inside in a grappling match, a wrestling match, are you telling me that Golovkin has the inside skills to deal with that? Let me just say, as promising as Golovkin is, and I've been a long-time supporter of Golovkin here online, right? More than a year ago, I made a video, I believe, where I said 2013 could be the year of Golovkin and Tyson Fury, right? But my point is simply, the hype is out of control when you consider that Golovkin hasn't even fought the best in his weight class. And now we're going to put him in the ring with some of the best fighters pound for pound in the sport in heavier weight classes, when Golovkin hasn't even shown an ability, quite frankly, to handle a guy up on his chest. Understand, a lot of these guys look great when they're hunters. Think Mike Tyson, right? Mike Tyson in his prime, when he was hunting down, let's say, Marvis Frazier, looked unbeatable. Suddenly, later in his career, he's up against Evander Holyfield, a fight he's favored in. And the problem was Holyfield could fight you inside. You remember, Holyfield's so far inside that, like Timothy Bradley, Holyfield's accused of headbutts, right? Because Holyfield's head is that close. He's up on you. And lo and behold, we find out that the consummate hunter, Mike Tyson, power in both hands, couldn't handle it when a guy actually brought the fight to him. Right? Don't be surprised if that's what happens to Gennady Golovkin. If a fight against Andre Ward happens soon, if a fight against Bernard Hopkins happens soon, at 168 or 170, whatever, in the super middleweight range, I think what you would find out is that Golovkin is great on his front foot when he's hunting you down. And he's able to pace himself, and he's able to pick his shots. But he's not great when you're up on his chest. Right? Fighting inside, very few can do it. When you see a guy with elite skills who can fight inside, it's a different fight entirely. The thing to remember with guys like Andre Ward, with guys like James DeGale, is that these guys are showing you different looks at different times. These guys speak several languages in the ring. Andre Ward has a great jab. But against certain types of opponents, he doesn't even have to show you the jab to beat you. Right? So you could be looking at Andre Ward on that night, not see him throw too many jabs. You might then jump to the wrong conclusion, that Ward doesn't have a jab to throw. Right now, maybe the same is true with Gennady Golovkin. Maybe he has a tremendous game. Tremendous. Up close with a big opponent who has a shoulder on him while they're throwing punches. But we haven't seen that in the ring. Right? The unbeaten record might not apply to a style we haven't seen him in the ring against. Right? So I love unbeaten records, whether it's Deontay Wilder's, whether it's Floyd Mayweather's, whether it's Gennady Golovkin's. But against the wrong style on the wrong night, we're all mortal. Right? As Jim Morrison once said years ago, no one here gets out alive. Right? Let's see what happens when these guys fight these tough fights. Deontay Wilder, let's see what happens if he can't land that long straight right hand. Floyd Mayweather, let's see what happens if Amir Khan comes out with faster hands and movement, greater volume, and forces Floyd to try to get through that offensive arsenal to find him. Right? If Amir Khan stays out of the pocket, this will be the hardest fight Floyd Mayweather has had in several years. And with regard to Gennady Golovkin, if he decides to take on the guys at 168 pounds, right? Just remember, weight classes exist for a reason. Don't be fooled by the optical illusion that's been thrown in your face with regard to Manny Pacquiao's career and Floyd Mayweather's career. Right? Those guys are great fighters. They were able to defy gravity. Most middleweights can't make the jump to 168 pounds. I believe we're going to find out, quite frankly, over time, that Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. can't make the jump at the same elite level where he was at middleweight. Right? Even big middleweights have problems making the jump. Here you have a size dynamic. Here you have a style dynamic. Right? There simply isn't video of Golovkin dealing with a guy who has his head on his shoulder and is bringing the fight to him. There is video of Golovkin against the smaller Qasim Uma from back in the day. Right? Understand, Uma brings the fight to Golovkin. Golovkin struggles in that fight. But Uma doesn't have the inside game or defense of a Ward or a Hopkins. Right? So let's enjoy all of this while it lasts. Just understand, Malik Scott, live underdog. Amir Khan, live underdog, in my opinion. This is my opinion. And if Gennady Golovkin goes up against Ward or Hopkins, right, he's in for a long night. Understand, Bernard Hopkins has not been stopped in a fight for decades. Understand, Andre Ward is unbeaten today. You're telling me that a middleweight is going to become the first man to stop Andre Ward in Andre Ward's weight class? You're telling me that a middleweight can beat guys who have beaten light heavyweight champions? Give me a break. We'll see what happens. I hope the Golovkin-Ward fight actually materializes down the road so we could look at it. Okay? I'll address that fight again if it's ever announced. I'll concede. Fighters who like to work from the outside, right, who are slower than Golovkin, who does throw short punches, would have a hard time at 168 pounds. Right? I'll concede a Golovkin-Carl Froch fight would be fascinating. But if you put me among the skeptics who believe that Golovkin against Ward, where Ward could hunt Golovkin down, Golovkin against Hopkins, where Hopkins would be on his front foot hunting Golovkin down, I'd have to take Ward and Hopkins in those dust-ups? Let me hear from you. Leave your comment for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. And before you send a message saying Hopkins is too old to deal with to deal with Gennady Golovkin, just understand that Hopkins is out there beating people like Jean Pascal, right? Hopkins' next fight is against one of boxing's best athletes in Beibut Shumanov, who's a legitimate light heavyweight, right? Don't tell me that Golovkin is so physically dominant that Hopkins is going to be intimidated in the slightest by a guy right now in a division that Hopkins dominated years ago. Let me hear from you. Thanks for stopping by.